What's up, what's up? Welcome back to Abe Speaks. I know it's been a while, but I am back. And it's been about no book review this time, but I do have some of those coming. It's been about a year or so since I posted anything on social media at all, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. But in that time, what I have been doing, I did a lot of writing, I did a lot of reading, and a lot of researching. And for what you ask, I'll get to that. But I did learn a lot about myself during that time as well, and I'm not specifically, it's more so about perspective. I'm not easily persuaded sometimes when it comes to perspective, and that's something that I struggle with, so I'm looking at that a little bit. And with that, I'll give you for example, I consider myself somewhat liberal to an extent, and I think everybody is in some type of fashion maybe. But anyway, with that, I was presented with a series of videos and books that I had to digest, and I looked at them, and yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself and how I look at things. I learned a lot about how someone else that has a different opinion than me. I looked at how I view others that have opposite views than me. I learned how I view others such as that, and what I can do about myself moving forward to combat that. And like I said, I did learn a whole lot about it, and this could have very well been a case of cognitive dissonance. And if anybody doesn't know what cognitive dissonance is, I don't really want to give a literal definition of it, but you can just look. I'll just give you a brief example of it. It's basically just having your head in the sand, even though you're confronted with something that's going against what you currently believe. And I'll give you an example, a scenario, for instance. Maybe everybody hasn't had to go through this, but just a scenario. You're a kid, right? And it's Christmas Eve. You're a kid, late night, you go down the steps, you're thirsty. You go down the steps, you hit the corner, what do you see? You see Dad. Dad is underneath the Christmas tree. He's putting the presents around the Christmas tree and not Santa. So what do? You start bawling, you start crying, you start thinking about like what is going on? Like this is going against everything what I know. Like my teacher told me it's Santa. You told me it was Santa, Dad. Mommy said it was Santa. Everybody said it was Santa, but it's not here. That's not true. But what do? Cognitive dissonance. What do? It puts you underneath some type of stress, and this stress sometimes blinds you. And even though you have these facts, you see your dad right here in front of you putting these presents around the tree, but what do? You ignore it. You know what? I'm gonna go a step further. You know what? That's just Santa dressed up as Dad. That's all that is. And that's an example of cognitive dissonance. And like I said, I learned a whole lot. And sometimes you just have to have that within you to see what's going on. And if you saw the title of this video, you know what it is. This is why you're not growing. Your lack of utilizing this skill is why you're not growing. Maybe that's mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, emotionally, academically, whatever it is. And I'll give you a couple examples moving forward. But the name of this skill is mental flexibility. All right, it's mental flexibility. And that example I gave you as that kid, just not wanting to see what's going on, that could have been me. You know, I could have been yelling, screaming that all these videos or these books are BS, like whatever it is that you're looking at, you know. And you know, I could have very well had that attitude. I'm not saying that I was just like super thrilled to just go into something that I was opposed to, but you know, I had to go into it with an open mind in order to have some type of understanding as to what's going on. Now, like I said, I'll use an example physically. So you do the toe touch, for instance, okay? You're doing the toe touch. The first time you go out, you can't touch your toes, but you have a base, you have a foundation of what it is that you can do. Same thing with information. You have a base of information that you currently have. Okay, you keep doing the stretch over and over. Eventually, you take a step further. Okay, more information I can take in. I'm getting closer to my toes. More information I take in. Getting closer to my toes. And eventually you get to your toes and beyond. But when you're taking in that information, you start diversifying your sources. You start diversifying your stretches. Next time you want to stretch your calves. You want to stretch your hamstrings. You want to stretch your triceps. You know what I mean? You're diversifying it and getting this information so that you're well-rounded. And this brings me up to, because sometimes You know, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes you have to look at it as sometimes you don't know what you believe in unless those beliefs are challenged. You know, like I know there are some things that people say like, oh, I'm standing firm in this, but all right, like have you been really, really challenged in it? Sometimes you don't really know what it is you believe in until there's something really going against you. And I'm not saying that you just have to like just accept it as that, but, and this is actually an example that my history professor taught me. Shout out to Dr. Priggy. He had taught me about whenever I wanted to write a well-balanced paper. He said you need to be able to research and understand and include your opposition whenever you're writing your paper. Because whenever you're doing that, you're understanding that it's not just your perspective that's out there. You understand that there are other things that go into play and other things are going on, but this is why I believe this. You know what I mean? Because I've looked at this, I've looked at that, I've looked at this, and now I've come to the conclusion of such and such. You know? And that's an example that I think that more people need to be able to use within their life. And this is prevalent in other ways of society. Think about sports. Whenever you're doing sports, you have to scheme against the other team. What are they doing? A 2-minute drill. What's their inbounds, out of bounds plays? You know, what formations do they? You know what I mean? There's little things like that. Business plans. What's the competition? What's the competition's pricing? Their distribution. You know, just little things like that. In order for you to be well thought out. Could you imagine if you were a coach and you're only looking at your game plan for the upcoming game? What's going to happen? You're probably going to lose because your opponent has what? They have theirs and they have yours. They're looking at it from a broader view and bringing it all together for a cumulative view to look at things. They're not just looking at things one-sided. So that's something that you need to have within your life. And I believe it or not, like I said, this isn't me saying that you just need to drop everything that you believe or, oh, I don't believe this, I don't believe, but you need to be able to understand and review other things that may conflict to what you believe in. Because like I said before, sometimes, not all the time, you need to have those beliefs challenged. You need to have those beliefs challenged because, like I said, you're getting flexible. You're pushing the borders of your body in order to get to that flexibility point, and you're pushing the borders of your mind in order to get more knowledge and get a broader view of things. You have two eyes for a reason. You know, unfortunately, some people don't. I get it. But you have two eyes for a reason. You're able to see. You need to be able to see things for a broader view. You can't just, if you have one eye closed, what does that do? That changes your perspective. You open it back up. Okay, that makes things easier for you to see. You need to have that outlook whenever you're going through life as well. And I say maybe it affects your money that way. You need to have more, diversify your money. I'm not saying you need to quit your job. I love my job. But seriously, for anybody that's doing that, you need to understand that, you know, just need to diversify yourself and diversify your thinking, diversify your thoughts, and, you know, just have that within yourself. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that this resonates with you, and I'm going to bring this to this last part of my video. I'm going to start calling these my closing statements. All right. You're not growing because you're too comfortable in your own shell, and echo chambers of not enough thought diversity. You're limiting your growth because you're scared of what you'll find out about yourself, when in reality, it's scary of what you can become by pushing your mind's borders. That's today's closing statements. I hope you guys love the video. I hope you guys like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have more of these coming out. And till next time, peace out.